We're back, LIVIN Unplugged. I know you've been waiting 4 or 5 years for the second installment of this podcast series. And of course, I've got with me here today the one and only Luke Foster to kick it back off. We're going to be talking all things LIVIN, mental health, life, routine. For those of you listening on at home, we encourage you to send in some questions because Luke and I are going to be talking a lot. We're also going to be getting some guests on, so throw some suggestions our way of who you want us to talk to. Without further ado, Lukey. LIVIN Unplugged is back.
Back?
We've had a 5-year hiatus.
Yeah, refining our craft.
Refining, planning, prepping. I think we've done all of our podcast episodes while we haven't been recording. So we thought we better hit record and bring the people what they want.
We do have a lot of conversations, that's correct.
Well, mate, we plan to be talking a lot, you and I. We're going to be getting some guests on the show. There's going to be plenty of topics of discussion. So to the viewers at home, happy for you to suggest some topics or some guests. We'll do our best to talk about, those topics or get those guests on. This show is for the people, and we want to make sure that we're providing plenty of value to you listeners and providing some sort of some things that you can apply to your life to better your mental health, your relationships, your performance, whatever it is. Luke is the number one psychologist in Australia, so make sure you're listening.
That's very subjective, and that's your perspective. But thank you. I'll take that, I guess.
Well, mate, I've been thinking about it for some time now. What we should talk about, and as you know, I'm on a bit of a rebirth at the moment, on a bit of a journey after a few years in the wilderness of not exercising, not looking after myself due to a few issues. And
mate, I was actually honestly, that was going to be something I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I took that from you.
Obviously, I haven't been in the office a hell of a lot this year. I've been very, very busy, still working hard behind the scenes. But, mate, when you walked in today, I thought, has this bloke been working out?
Yeah.
I genuinely thought, wow.
Yeah, impressive, eh?
Yeah. Bulking.
It's not hard to bulk when you got quite a lean frame to begin with.
No, honestly, though, tell me about this rebirth that you described.
Well, firstly, we obviously talk a lot about self-care and routine, and everyone knows the positive effects physical health or working out has on our mental health. And for so long, I sort of wasn't taking my health seriously. I don't know, 8 years ago, I got quite sick with psoriatic arthritis, which I don't want to bore everyone with the details. It was a long journey. I thought I was dying. My body was shutting down. I went from around 95 kilos down to 75 kilos, and I had arthritis in pretty much every joint. And it was a bit of a journey. I didn't want to take the medication. I wanted to sort of work through it more naturally, diet, sleep, all the things that are good for us, try and lower the stress. And, yeah, lately I've sort of got that fitness bug, and I'm loving it. It's I'm not just talking about it now, I'm actually doing it. And for me, it's been great. And so many sort of positive things have come off the back of it, which we'll unpack them today. But, mate, what does your routine look like?
I want to ask you a question first, then we can talk about my routine. So what I'm intrigued by, you've got all this information about the benefits of physical health on your mental health. We talk about it every day. You see content that goes up. You've listened to 200 of my LIVIN Wells. So you got all this information. What was the tipping point for you to suddenly go information, action?
Like another thing we talk about a lot, like life happens. 2 young kids, like all the excuses that everyone hears. I have them all. But what I think it comes down to is I wasn't prioritising it.
Yeah.
When you prioritise something or when you care about something, you make time for it. And another thing that's probably helped me is sort of front loading everything.
Right.
And what I mean by front loading is for my self-care or my exercise, I try and get that
train
done.
Going past.
It's all right,
Helen Vale train.
They won't hear the train. My exercise and my self-care routine, I try and front load that into my day because I know my day is going to get busy. I'm going to get pulled in 1,001 directions. And then I've also got a beautiful family that I need to give my attention to.
Yeah.
So if I can do it at the start of the day, there's less chance that I'll have in saying no to my routine. And another positive thing that another few positive sort of cliches that I've clung on to, like I try to do the hard things first.
Yeah.
And I just don't negotiate with myself. Once I start negotiating, I lose.
So genuinely, can you remember the moment where got the information, I actually need to do something with this information, and the moment where you made the transition from information to action?
Oh, it was gradual.
Gradual.
Like even last year, I was still working out a few times a week.
Yeah.
I just know that it's good for me, like especially for my focus, my clarity, even longevity. I just started doing more. And then I started running again. And then I started listening to a few more podcasts. Or I think the tipping point, this is going to sound real corny, I got one of those Whoop bands.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. It's got a 30-day trial, so I encourage everyone to sign up. You just got to pay the shipping. But I started sort of getting good feedback on the data, and I sort of was tracking what I was doing, and I could sort of see the inputs versus the outputs. Tracking my sleep. Sleep's always been a struggle for me. Always has been. I operate better at nighttime, but I am slowly trying to transition to being a morning person for the reasons I spoke about, to front load my day, so that by the nighttime I am so tired I just fall asleep anyway.
Yeah.
But nighttime's always been a time of rumination for me. I sit down, that's when all the thoughts from the day, whether it be family, personal, work life, I'm trying to solve all the world's problems and I can't sleep. So I think if I was to boil it down, the turning point might have been that Whoop band. And then you suggested
feedback. Feedback. You got some direct feedback.
Yeah, the Nick Bear podcast as well. Or YouTube channel. I just love his enthusiasm, his positivity to train. Before that, I was just going through the motions. Like, obviously, I sit next to you. You've always looked after yourself. You do the self-care. We talk about it a lot. And I did it just to go through the motions. But now I'm actually enjoying it. And on the back of that, I'm prioritizing it. So I'm putting good things in place, which it all snowballs. And I think that's one thing I want to stress. Like, life is tough. Life gets in the way. But we can find time in our day to do the things that not only help us, but make us feel better. And then they also help us be better humans to other people in our life.
Yeah. I think a big mistake people make, they often sit there waiting for motivation to appear at the front door. But what I'm hearing in what you've been saying is if you actually get out there and start doing things, it's the action that breeds motivation. It's not the other way around. You can sit all day at home waiting for motivation to rock up at your door. It ain't going to come typically. But if you start moving, start doing things, your motivation builds.
Builds momentum, and I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Every morning I get in the ice bath. There is no motivation, but there's also no negotiation. I just know I have to do it. I get in there.
Yeah.
When I get out, I feel good.
Yeah. There's no debate.
Do not debate.
Do
and also, on the other hand, if you go 1 or 2 days where you're doing bad things, that's okay. That's life.
Yeah.
By bad things, I mean eating poorly, having a few drinks,
Yeah.
staying up late. Or, you could go on a holiday and you skip training for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's like life is to be lived. But just start again. Just get back in a good routine.
Yeah. I guess it depends how you frame it too. If you go on a holiday and you recognise I am doing this for a particular reason. When I return, I'll resume my healthy routine. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It's how you frame it, how you set it up in your own mind, the things that you do.
What's your routine look like?
Pretty straightforward routine.
Simplicity's pretty good.
As in from what, start to finish? Or?
Well, what are the things you like to do that make you feel good about being Luke Foster and working alongside me?
I have a pretty set routine. So I typically get up these days at about 4 a.m. and I wouldn't encourage everyone to do this, particularly at the moment. It's quite stressful, but I usually check out the US stock market, have a mini heart attack, and then I always go down to 7-Eleven. It's open 24/7, Coolangatta 7-Eleven, and get my coffee, talk to the same person every single morning, bit of social support, go up, sip my coffee, and then usually a 6 a.m. class down in Tweed, BFT. So I train, do group classes every single day, except Sunday. On Sunday, I usually go to the gym instead to lift sort of heavy-ish weights. Not heavy, but heavy-ish
You said
weights.
Snap Fitness, right? That's where you go?
I go to Snap, mate, yeah.
Yep.
A couple of times a week, but particularly on a Sunday, which would be my rest day. So I'm always exercising. I'm always making sure that I've got some sort of project on the go, because I don't think there's too much positive emotion without progression towards a goal. So I've always got a project on the go. I'm obviously studying at the moment, so that's taken up a lot of time, but a few exciting projects with LIVIN that keep me entertained. I just try to be healthy, mate, honestly. I don't drink anymore. I'm just living a healthy life. Like, it is a core value of mine now.
Yeah.
Being healthy. It's not a goal. It's not a feeling that I'm chasing. It's part of my identity. I'm a healthy bloke now, fit and healthy bloke, and I attach to that identity.
Well, on that topic, what's your go-to Maccas order?
Yeah. Rare.
Yeah.
Rare.
You live above one.
And this ain't my recipe, but if I'm chasing calories and I'm feeling extremely lazy, I'll get 2 double cheeseburgers, chuck the buns in the bin, and then I'll get 4 chicken McPatties and use them as the bun.
That's health right there, people.
It's not that healthy, but there's plenty of protein, plenty of calories.
Mate, when you're working out,
Yeah.
and I'm sort of going somewhere with this, when you're working out or running, I know you run, sauna, are you listening to anything? Are you doing anything else? Or are you just mindful of what you're doing and in silence?
So if I'm in the sauna, and typically I'll have a very, very hot sauna, I'll try and get the sauna up to 80 plus degrees. It's old school sauna. What do? I'm always listening to music. The earbuds get extremely hot. I don't think they're designed for 80 plus degrees temperature, but I'll be listening to some heavy trance in there. I like my heavy trance music. But when I train, say group classes, yeah, there'll be music in the background, but no, it's a battle in the mind. I love it. I love that battle in the mind. I love feeling pain, pushing through the pain barrier. It's interesting when you start out, that pain is something that you just don't want. But once you start getting to a certain level of fitness, you kind of thrive off the pain. I love when the pain kicks in and you got to push through it. You know you're working hard.
My Whoop tells me.
Your Whoop would. The Apple Watch less, so I don't know what's going on with this thing, mate. But you know when there's a bit of pain, as long as it's healthy pain, you don't want to bust yourself, injure yourself. But when you feel the pain, it almost, to me, it reminds me that I'm growing.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm moving forward. There's something happening that is better than yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, mate, I'm pretty the same. Like, when I run, I just love silence. And that's because that's my time to think. It's time to get my thoughts in order, clear what's ever going on around. And that's where I solve all the world's problems. I am lucky where I live.
Solve all the world's problems.
I try to in my own world. But where I live is quite scenic, so I'm pretty blessed with the view that I get to run with, minus all the hills and the ups and downs. But when I'm at the gym, I used to do it in silence too. But I've started trying to. My days are finite. I've got a lot of things to do, not a lot of time to learn. So I'm now listening to podcasts or audio books while I'm in the gym, just trying to, I don't know, multitask, habit stacking, whatever you want to call it, while I'm training and trying to fix my body or work on my body. I'm trying to learn as well. So I don't know. That's working for me at the moment.
It's a good strategy.
It's really good.
Temptation bundling, pairing something that you want to do with something that you should do, can be very effective. Yeah. Habit stacking, exactly right. That's another great strategy to kickstart things. If you have a morning coffee, let's say you have a coffee every morning, set the intention, after my morning coffee, I will exercise, I will write in my journal, I will write down something that I'm grateful for. You're using a lot of evidence-based stuff, mate. It's good to see. Good to hear.
Well, mate, before we sort of move off this topic, weightlifting, lifting weights.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people at home some of the benefits
Oh, I wish I was.
of resistance training?
Well, it's very good for you. I wish I was a neuropsychologist because I could tell you about exactly what happens in the brain. But I do know from some research that it is one of the most effective ways to stave, not stop, but to stave off cognitive decline. Cardio is great for you in many, many ways, but lifting weights scientifically can stave off that cognitive decline that we all start to experience post the age of 25. So that's why I do. I like to throw in weights into my routine.
That's probably why I was just doing it rather than enjoying it.
And it's interesting. So for me, a big motivator to exercise is knowing those things. So it's not just about the aesthetics or chasing a feeling. That might be part of it to some degree, but actually understanding the benefits is motivating for me.
Yeah.
If I lift weights, it staves off cognitive decline. I'm going to go lift weights. If I do exercise, it's good for my mental health. Pretty motivating.
Yeah.
Really motivating. And in the process, I don't have a beer belly. Do you know what I mean?
I still do.
You're looking well.
I think it's a KFC belly.
It's your Maccas run with Eddie on the way home. You ring me every day. Honestly, my phone rings at about 5:30 every day. I don't even have to look down, Casey. You give me a rundown of the day, and usually it's pretty positive. Not always, but usually it's pretty positive. Then you got Eddie in the background. Hello, Uncle Wooko. And then typically the next voice I hear is the chick or the dude at Maccas saying, "Can I please take your order?"
No.
And you're like, I feel so guilty, mate, but I'm going to order a cheeseburger. I'm like, I don't care what you do.
That's not
mate.
how it starts. It starts using the up-to-date.
Yeah.
Mate, while we're just talking about routine and self-care, I want to touch on a few more things before we move on. But meditation.
Yes.
Mate, meditation's something I'm trying to do at the moment. Once again.
What do you mean,
motivation. Yeah, watch him do this, peeps. It's like a baby giraffe learning how to walk. Meditation is something I struggle with, mate. I don't want to diagnose myself, but ADHD, if I don't have it, I don't know what it is. But
attention deficit hyperactive disorder is what it is.
Yeah, but
Casey.
I am the walking definition. But I'm trying to meditate every day because I know the benefits. It's something we speak about a lot. And I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like most people, I get the wandering mind.
Yes.
Last night's meditation was fantastic for that. The lady came on in my ear and she said, the mind is made for thinking. That's what it's made to do.
It's a thought machine.
It's a thought machine.
Yeah.
Just like our nose is made to smell.
Yep.
Our ears are made to listen. Some are better than others.
Or to hear.
So when your mind starts wandering, that's okay. That's what it's made to do. But just try and bring it back. Try and center it. Mate, do you meditate?
I don't have a fixed routine, but I do think I naturally embed mindfulness throughout my day. I do.
How do you do that?
Well, I think I've got a decent understanding nowadays of what's going on in my mind at any given point in time. So I think I recognise, let's say I'm on the M1 and I'm stuck in traffic and I notice a physical sensation like I'm starting to get angry. At that point in time, I'll know it's like a knock at the door. A sensation in my body probably means that my thoughts are going a certain place. So I'll check in and realise I've been taken on this journey. Fuck sitting in traffic. This is fucking bullshit. Why did I go in the office today? It's going to take me an hour and a half to get home. As soon as I identify that, unhook, come back to the present moment. I'll get dragged away again. As soon as I realise I've been caught by a thought, unhook, come back to the present moment. Even if you're only present for a nanosecond, that's the art of being mindful. And that's okay. That's okay. It happens over and over and over again. The more you practice it, the longer those moments of awareness of being present. So I think I naturally do it, but I should probably have a a morning routine where I practice it more, because with practice you get better at it. And I do let my thoughts and emotions carry me aloft at times.
I won't lie, it is tough, but I'm persevering because I know I want to improve my focus, sleep, but I also want to be more mindful, more present in every single sort of interaction that I'm in. And our phones they're designed to just drain our focus and pull us away.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to do it. Recently, you wrote a pretty good sort of article for LIVIN.
Yeah.
The sky, the clouds.
Yeah.
You want to touch on that while we're talking about this?
Yeah, it's a bit of a metaphor, I guess, to articulate an aspect of acceptance and commitment therapy, of which mindfulness falls. But I think sometimes it can feel like we're so lost in our thoughts, it's almost comparable to being a dark and stormy cloud. What people don't realise is they're actually not the cloud, they're actually the sky. And what the sky does, the sky is ever present. It holds the clouds, it holds the weather, but it's separate from the clouds, it's separate from the weather. It is always there, just watching the clouds float on by. And I think if we can get to a stage of being like that in our own minds, it can be very, very healthy. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. There's a part of you that can step back, a bit like being the sky, and simply watch your thoughts come and go. Feel your feelings, but not get caught up in them. It's a bit like another example that I really like. Think about standing in the drop zone of a waterfall. You're standing there and you're thinking, what the fuck is going on? Why am I getting so wet? I don't like this. You've got no idea, no awareness of what's happening. You just don't like what's going on. That's a bit like being caught in your thoughts. Then if you take one step back, and we'll call this level 1 awareness, suddenly you realise, fuck, I'm in a waterfall. That's a bit like recognising the thoughts that are going around in your head. Yes, you're still in the waterfall. Yes, the thoughts are still bouncing around in your head, but you're aware of what's happening. Then level 2, you suddenly realise, fuck, I don't need to actually stand here in the drop zone of the waterfall. I can step back and simply observe the waterfall. That's a bit like stepping back from your thoughts, recognising you aren't your thoughts, you're not your feelings. You can step back and simply watch them come and go.
And you can respond without reacting.
Yeah.
Or instead of reacting, sorry.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, at that point in time when you step back from the waterfall, or where you step back from your thoughts and your feelings, you have a choice. How am I gonna respond instead of being pulled around by your thoughts and your feelings? Because sometimes we might have a thought like, I am anxious, or I am angry, and it's a bit like putting on some glasses labelled anxiety or anger. Start to dictate how you see the world, how you interact with the world. You take the glasses off from time to time.
Mate, thank you. I think there's some value in that for the people listening at home. We're also going to probably link that article here in the show notes.
Oh, yeah.
But, mate, yeah, thank you. That's it's a great way to put it. And I don't know, storytelling always helps me put things into perspective. So,
what do you prefer, the sky metaphor or the waterfall?
Well, I was pretty attached to the sky, but hearing waterfall for the first time today, I do like the waterfall.
It can be a little bit woo-woo, but I think metaphors are really important for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, good visuals about some things that are pretty complex, but in practice they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sound really complex, but in practice when you break it down through a story or a metaphor, it reduces some of the complexity.
Mate, I agree. And that's probably what you're really good at, especially in your presentations. But I don't want to talk too much about that.
Number one psychologist, I'm good in my presentations, mate. Get off the zipper.
It's not hard to see who the favourite is. Before we move to the sort of the last part of the routine I want to talk about, I just want to stress to the people at home, like, it can be tough. Your mind will wander. That's okay. Bring it back.
Even for a nanosecond. Tick, win.
And you can do it anywhere at any time, even in amongst a busy day. So, because it is good for you. I am at the moment trying to decide which I'm using an app. I'm using Smiling Mind.
Yeah.
I'm also dabbling in a little bit of Headspace.
Oh, yeah.
So if anyone's got suggestions, I'm all ears.
I do like the Happier app, formerly 10% Happier. There's a guru on there called Joseph Goldstein. He's an older gentleman, very, very wise, has been practicing meditation, mindfulness for probably 50 plus years. He's got some great tutorials on that Happier app. I really like his wisdom.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll check that one out.
Yeah, check it out.
Now, mate, moving on to sort of the end part of the day, part of our self-care, sleep. Mate, sleep is I know we could do 5 podcasts just on sleep alone. But
That'd put people to sleep probably.
Well, that's good because that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We all know 8 hours is what we're striving for.
Thereabouts.
As I've said, life happens.
Yeah.
I told you earlier too, I'm a bad sleeper. I struggle to get to sleep. Call me woo-woo, call me weird. When there's a full moon, I really struggle to fall asleep. I don't know what that is. But, mate, just for the people listening, what are some tips to help people maintain some good sleep hygiene?
One of the first things I'd suggest is don't fixate on 8 hours. If you're not getting 8 hours, don't be too concerned. What it tends to do, if I'm thinking I need 8 hours and you don't get 8 hours, it starts to build anxiety around your sleep. So I'd say take the pressure off the number of hours that you need to sleep. Some nights I get 5 hours and I function fine. Some nights I get 7.5 and I don't function as well the next day. But, 6 to 8 hours is probably recommended. But I wouldn't apply too much pressure on the exact number. In terms of some of the best recommendations, there's many that I suggest. I suppose what's worked really well for some clients, not all clients, of course, and what's worked really well for me is routine. So I try to wake up around the same time every morning. I'm really vigilant with my wake up time. So pretty regularly I'll be getting up at 4 a.m. I am flexible around the time that I go to bed. I try to reduce pressure around bedtime, but I will have a bit of a wind down. I put the phone down and try to do something boring, relaxing in the lead up to bed, the couple of hours leading up to bedtime. But I am quite flexible about bedtime. I go to bed when I'm tired, but I'm very vigilant with my wake up time. Even if I have a shitty night's sleep, I'll get up at 4 a.m. If I'm ever lying in bed for any longer than probably 20 or 30 minutes, instead of just tossing and turning, looking at the clock, I tend to break that cycle of turning and getting frustrated and again go and do something boring, relaxing outside of the bedroom. Once I notice myself drifting, return to bed and repeat that process. The last thing you want to do is condition bed as being this place where you get frustrated, you don't fall asleep easily. If you're really disciplined with that approach of getting out of bed when you're not falling asleep after 20 or 30 minutes, over time you'll condition bed as being this place where you drift off quite easily. The last thing you want is to sort of at night time look into your bedroom and go, fuck, there's that place that causes me all this angst and frustration. You don't want to set up that association. Bit of morning sunlight's really good too.
Yeah. Mate, one thing that's helped me tremendously is my phone's not in my room.
Yeah.
It just removes that temptation to look at it. When I look at the time, I start getting more anxious.
Yeah.
So when I do get up, I just never touch my phone. I never look at the clock because I'm in a race against myself.
What's the experience like of putting the phone down and being removed from your phone? What was it like initially?
No, there was never any issues.
Oh, right.
Never any issues. I knew that it was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Also, even if I do sleep well, it removes the temptation for that to be the first thing I pick up in the morning when I wake up, which I don't want.
I could probably learn from you.
The first thing I want to do when I wake up is get sunlight, get outside,
Yeah, it's good for you.
and view the sun. So,
Yeah.
mate, thank you for your insights there.
Just around the phone though, you know how you said it was quite easy for you just to put the phone away and go about your nightly routine. What do you reckon it's like for most people?
Tough.
Yeah, it would be.
Like teenagers, it wouldn't. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's the best thing we can. Well, speaking from experience, the best thing you can do is just separate it.
Yeah.
Like we can go down all different rabbit holes about sleeping next to your phone, what that does to your brain and all other sorts of things. But I don't know.
It's almost like a separation anxiety.
It's kind of like
Where's
a
my
feeling
phone?
that you're still turned on.
Yeah,
Because it could ring. It could. But
Or when it's on you, you mean?
Well, when it's near you,
Yeah.
you've got that anticipation of, oh, there's a notification, or just get it out of the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sleep better.
Yeah.
And then I encourage you, get outside straight away. Do something other than, life is busy, everything is busy. Let's try and delay the busyness. Let's start being more in control of our day
Yeah.
rather than letting the day control us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that, if you set yourself up for success along the way by doing these things, it just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
You're not negotiating.
Yeah, I won't pretend to understand the pull of things like Instagram, Facebook, because I'm not on there. I'm only on LinkedIn, but I can imagine it'd be extremely difficult
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
What's LinkedIn?
I can imagine it'd be very difficult for some people that are so used to those dopamine hits, that external validation, instant gratification. Letting go of that could be extremely difficult. It's almost like giving up a drug.
I don't even know if it's a dopamine hit. It's become such a routine. They don't even know they're doing it. It's mindless.
Mindless. Yeah, mindless activity.
It's just, they just thought they know.
But it could also, like, if you think about the way people utilise their phone. The other day I went into the skin cancer clinic, right? And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I don't know if I had my phone on me or I left it in the car, but I wasn't looking at my phone. But everyone in that waiting room was on their phone. And I was thinking about what is going on here? Yeah, they might be reading something educational. They might be amusing themselves. But I think a part of it too is, for some people, it's probably the solution to some internal distress they don't want to deal with. Oh, anxiety. How can I distract myself from it? I'll grab my phone and start scrolling.
It's honestly just a habit too.
Yeah, it could be a habit.
There's a break. Boots.
But I dead set think at some level it could actually be an avoidance strategy. I don't want to sit and deal with the world or myself, what's going on internally. How can I avoid all that? I'll grab my phone. Safety blanket.
Yeah.
Possibly.
What?
Hypothesizing.
Bus stops, public transport, any place you
walking
go.
across the road.
Yeah.
Standing at the lights, waiting for the green man to flash.
And I'm not saying I've done it too, but
I don't want to look up at the world. It's scary. I get anxious looking at the world. I'm going to look down at my phone. Might be something going on.
Maybe
there.
they're reading We Asked Our Site content.
Yeah, that'd be hopefully not while crossing the road.
Mate, thank you. Something I want to talk about, we haven't really actually spoken about publicly before, so I hope it's okay. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, before LIVIN, you were a babyface psychologist.
Yeah.
In the Army, full-time Australian Army.
When I started, I was babyface. By the time I left, I was old and dishevelled and disgruntled.
For 10 years?
Almost 10 years, yeah. Longer than 10 years if you count my reserve time, but 8.5 years full-time. Almost 9 years full-time.
I reckon we should do a podcast on that one day.
Mm-hmm. Happy to talk about it.
Absolutely. Like, I love hearing your stories,
yeah.
Especially in the Living Well. They're so practical. They're some sad, some are inspiring. But I suppose what I want to talk about today is your transition out.
Yeah.
How was the transition out of the full-time military for you? Did that have an effect on you?
It was difficult.
It was difficult.
It was difficult, yeah. More difficult than I anticipated.
Did you think it would be difficult?
I should have. I should have known. Because interestingly, as a psychologist in the Army, when people were transitioning out, they used to come and have a chat to me. And I used to advise them, never tell them, used to advise them or collaboratively come up with a bit of a plan to make that transition a bit easier. And I probably didn't take on any of my own advice. So transition was very, very hard for me. Something that I underestimated was, and you just get used to, the military is a lifestyle. You get used to it. You just live it. It's just a part of you. So it's who you become. But I definitely underestimated the sense of identity attached to being in uniform. A bit of ego, definitely attached with not so much a lieutenant, but a bit of ego attached to promotion to captain, promotion to major, the certain level of respect that comes with that, I suppose, recognising there's much more senior ranks than major. So by no means did I fully climb the ranks, but a bit of ego wrapped up in that. So many protective factors that you just take for granted. I had access to medical facilities at the drop of a hat, psychological support at the drop of a hat. I had people to my left and right every single day working towards a mission. So I had a fairly clear mission, being in the military, that was highly protective. Trained every day, were given the opportunity to do PT every single day. So when I took off the uniform for the last time, put it into my trunk, which I still got at home, and pushed it under my bed, a big part of me was lost.
Yeah.
Hugely lost. And when you lose your identity, when you lose meaning and purpose, it can be very, very dangerous.
Respect,
I suppose. Part of it, yeah. You know, acknowledgement or feeling valued, but it can be very, very dangerous. And you know very well, mate. I mean, I walked a really dangerous path for a while. I was very, very lost, rudderless. Rudderless is a good way to describe it. And it wasn't until I recognised what the fuck was going on, and it wasn't good. And I recognised the things that I needed in my life to get back on track that I started to make change. And, you know, met up with you and Sam, and the rest is history.
Well, mate, like every journey, it hasn't been linear for you.
No.
And there's a few things like athletes, like when they transition from full-time athlete back to normal life. I've got a lot of friends in the FIFO world. Similar thing, they get so used to the FIFO life of being away, removed from society, that when they try and integrate back into society, they just don't function well. Do you think there was also anything during your time in the military that you were exposed to, that you saw, that you helped with, that might have impacted you more than you ever realised as well?
I used to hang my hat on that. I think for a while that was a bit of an excuse. I thought, listen, there's no denying that I heard things. I didn't necessarily see things. We've got to recognise I was a psychologist in the army. There were people on the front line doing wild stuff. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that stuff. But there's no doubt, mate. I mean, I spoke to a lot of different people in the military, and certainly you hear some stuff that stays with you. And for a while, and this wasn't helpful, for a while when I got out of the military, I kind of blamed the army, externalised what was going on. It's the army's fault. I'm not doing well because the army damaged me. It's not until I realised that, wait a minute, look at what the army provided for you. Look at the bloke you were before you went into the army. You were a bloody shit fight.
Could you tie up your shoes?
You're a loose cannon before you went into the army. The army protected you. The army provided you with so much, so many protective factors. Stop blaming the army. Yeah, you heard some stuff that stays with you, but, mate, it wasn't until I recognised that in order to improve, I needed to get back in the driver's seat of my own life.
Yeah.
That's when change happened.
Before you came to that realisation, what was going on?
Oh, plenty. Yeah, it's putrid, really.
A lot of nothing.
Well, a lot of nothing, and just, stuff that's ugly, really. A lot of drinking, a bit of drug taking in there, just ugly.
To numb it?
Oh, I was just lost.
Lost.
Yeah, lost.
What would you say to someone going through what you went through?
In terms of
Like, what message would you give them to potentially help them, help get them back on track?
what if they're using drugs or
Well, just they're transitioning and they're lost.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
yeah.
Destructive behaviours.
Well, I suppose if I had my time again, I would plan my transition better. I'd recognise what I had that was serving me well at that point in time and ensure that when I transitioned that I was moving into a life, a role that provided a lot of those good things. And I think it's always important to have good people around you. I had such great friends, and I still do. I'm still connected with great army mates, but I had such great social support in the military. So when I left, I was kind of sitting there on my own.
Yeah.
So I'd always encourage people to ensure they got, doesn't have to be a lot, but good people surrounding them, guiding them in the right way, their best interests at heart, and try and understand the type of person you want to be, what truly matters in your life. We're not talking goals here or chasing feelings. Try and work out who you are, who you want to be in this world. And I think if you've got a vision for your life, it can be really, really helpful. It can provide direction, your core values, a bit like a compass, keep pointing you in the right direction. So maybe there's something in what I just said there that might help a few people out there that are struggling with transition or
Change.
Yeah, change, yeah.
I've been there. I've seen some of the times. And further to what you were just talking about, is what do you think, what got you through some of those dark days, some of those tough times?
Well, a lot of what I just said, I suppose.
Yeah. Anything else?
Like at the end of the day, for me, it was good people that understood me and people that were forgiving. Like I did some dumb shit in the context of drugs and alcohol that for people looking on that didn't know me well, they write me off. And I don't blame them for that. Absolutely. But thankfully I had people that knew me really well and knew that in certain states it wasn't necessarily who I was all the time. They remembered the good in me, so they were there to support me. So good people in your corner is super important. But I come back to what I said before. At some point, you can't just rely on others. You got to take charge of your own life. This internal locus of control as opposed to this external locus of control. You've got to get back in the driver's seat of your own life. And sometimes I say that to clients. Mate, you're rocking up to therapy and I'm happy to guide you, but I can't do the work for you. If you want your life to get better, you got to take charge of your own life. You really do.
So
it's a bit like what you said at the opening of this podcast. No negotiating with yourself.
yeah,
You make the decision to exercise. No one's going to exercise for you. At some point in time, you got all the information. At some point in time, you have to put it into action.
I get it. Like people would come to you or other psychologists and they want that quick fix because they are, some people, they're in the depths of hell.
Yeah.
And they think that by going to a psychologist, you'll have this magic little potion and they'll walk out that door and everything will be better.
Yeah.
But it's not the case.
To
get through it, you have to go through it.
Yeah. And I've got a great deal of empathy for people like that are highly distressed. I think for people like that, there is a stabilisation period where you want to relieve the crises or the significant distress. Once there's a bit of stability there, that's when they can start taking charge of their own life. So I think in some instances, yeah, you need to lean on other people to get to a certain point. Once you reach that certain point and you feel somewhat more stable, then you can launch into, let's say, growth.
Absolutely. I don't want to get too far away from the question I asked about your transition because, you know, I'm very grateful for everyone that has served.
You are I love it.
I just think it's probably one of the most noble things people can do, and you know, our life in Australia is pretty good for the most part. Yes, there's challenges, but a lot of that comes down to the sacrifices people have made over a long period of time, and I'm forever grateful for it. But sort of where that conversation went, one thing I'd like to ask or touch on, early intervention. Like one thing I've learnt through the time is the best time for intervention is always yesterday. The second best time for intervention is today.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to sort of talk on about intervention, early intervention in the realm of people's mental health or mental ill health?
No, I mean, you kind of nailed it. Early intervention is the best intervention. If you get on top of things early, it can prevent an absolute shitstorm from developing in many areas of your life. Like if you think about struggling and becoming mentally unwell, it's not just feeling bad within yourself. There's such a dramatic flow-on effect of leaving things without intervention. Starts to impact your job, starts to impact your physical health, starts to impact your social relationships, starts to impact your marriage, your relationship with your kids. If you get on top of things early, maybe you can prevent some of those flow-on effects.
Well, why do you think people don't speak up? Why don't they access support?
Yeah.
I know that's another podcast in itself.
Yeah.
But like
What are your thoughts? I mean, I've got some thoughts, but I always struggle to narrow it down to a singular thing, which I don't think it is.
And this was, 12 years ago when we lost Dwayne. I reflect back on that moment and why we started LIVIN. And why didn't Dwayne speak out? Well, stigma, fear of judgment, which oftentimes comes from a lack of understanding. Like we deliver our LIVIN mental health education programs into schools. So these people, or these students, these kids grow up learning how to access support, how to speak about their mental health or mental ill health from a young age in a way that is accepted. Like these people think they're a burden. They think the world would be a better place without them.
Yeah.
All these negative connotations, which are false, which you break it down to the core is from lack of education. And don't get me wrong, and from also many decades of stigmatizing behavior. Like we've brushed everything under the rug. And this is such a simple saying, but you break a limb, you get ill in Australia. And I'll say in Australia, you go to the doctor. In America, you might try and walk that broken leg off because it's too expensive to go to the doctor. But in Australia, we go to the doctor and that's accepted. We just know that happens, you go there.
Yeah.
With our mental health, we've never known what to do. It hasn't been as logical. That connection hasn't been as profound. And I do believe we've played a good role in educating people and shortening that gap. But I don't know. It's
complex.
People also have a hard time articulating how they feel because they feel as though they're a weirdo. They're different. They shouldn't be feeling this way. And none of these thoughts are positive. None of these thoughts are going to make this person better. You don't get better by ignoring it. So I don't know. There's many reasons. It is complex. It's multifaceted.
Yeah.
So is suicide. I'm not trying to connect the two, but complex.
It is complex. I think a lack of education, poor mental health literacy probably plays a relatively big part, and lack of education in a number of different areas. Ooh, what's wrong with me? What's going on with me? Do I need help or is this just who I am? Lack of understanding about what therapy looks like. I'm sure some people out there think therapy is this big, intense, and it can be at times, depending on what the presentation is, but this big, intense, scary conversation with somebody in a white coat. The amount of times that I've had a session with a bloke who has delayed getting support for so long because of because they've feared what the process looks like. The number of times I get to the end of a session and I wrap up the session, they go, fuck, is that all it was? Like, what did you expect? They're like, well, not that. It's a conversation. I mean, there's obviously a bit of expertise that goes into therapy, but in large part, if you find the right fit for you, it kind of feel like a nice fit, nice, comfortable conversation with escalating levels of discomfort as you work through things.
One other factor which I probably should have mentioned, there is a cost of living crisis. Money is hard to come by.
Another factor.
For some people, accessing support just costs too much money.
Agreed.
As I said about the American healthcare system, people don't access support because it's too expensive. For some people, and there are so many options in this country, which once again, through lack of education, people aren't aware of all of the options. It's too expensive, so they suck it up. They get on with it, but it doesn't get better.
No, and I agree with you. Cost is definitely a factor. Another thing that I'd pose to you, so what's going on here? Let's say you're driving your car and your warning light comes on in your car on the dashboard. How often do people just ignore that warning light? They keep driving and then suddenly, a month later, they're on the side of the M1 in their Ugg boots.
Why me?
I shouldn't have ignored that warning light. So I don't think it's purely in the mental health space that people delay things. I think it happens. I think it's a tendency in life for us to delay things,
especially when money's
it can
involved.
be very, very damaging if you delay any sort of mental health issues for too long. You can fix your car relatively easy with a bit of cash, but your mental health, if you leave your mental health issues unresolved for too long without any intervention, it can be really, really damaging.
Well, we've certainly talked about early intervention. We've talked about therapy. What is the landscape, or what does the state of mental health look like in Australia? I spoke about financial reasons being a possible barrier. Let's educate some people at home. How can they access support? Where can they go for some alternative options?
Alternative options?
If option A is too expensive, what does option B, C, or D look like? And what else can we be doing better? I suppose that's a two-part question, but I know there are options and they are cost effective. But people don't often know.
I think there's a range of wonderful free resources that are available. If people are chasing good mental health information, they can obviously follow us on socials. We pump out some good information that might be helpful. Organisations like Beyond Blue, Reach Out, fantastic resources on their websites. There's also free options for people. You know, if people are in crisis, they need support for themselves. Oh my God, I'm in crisis, I need support. Or if they're concerned about somebody in their life, oh my God, I don't know how to help this person, help me. Lifeline is a wonderful organisation on 13 11 14. They can always book an appointment with their GP. Their GP can write them up this thing known as a mental health care plan. With that mental health care plan and referral to a psychologist, that entitles you to 10 Medicare rebated sessions per calendar year. The GP might actually have some recommendations about bulk billing psychologists. GPs usually have a lot of psychologists on their books that they refer to, not on their books, but a resource list, and they might be aware of some that bulk bill, or some psychologists where you don't have to pay a really, really substantial gap.
I don't want to get too political here. That's a whole can of worms.
Yeah, let's not.
Recently, the federal budget came out, and I was quite disappointed in what I saw. They were cutting the funding to mental health. There's a cost of living crisis. People's mental health is at an all-time low for many different reasons, not just cost of living. Suicide, well, that's the leading cause of death between the ages of 14 and 44. Luke's about to be statistics here by drinking that water. And then they go and cut the funding to the mental health support. The coalition came out, they announced extra funding. But I will say, I'm very pleased to see that Labor in their campaign promises for re-election did announce some significant funding. And I do believe that if we're to address poor mental health, if we're to address the suicide rate in this country, it starts with getting the appropriate support or the right support for that person. So that is a step in the right direction. That's something I'm happy to pay a lot of tax for, to support, because those people, well, all of us need support at some point in our life. What was your take on all that?
Oh, I think you summed it up well. Yeah.
You don't want to, open that can of worms.
I mean, if that's the case, if they're directing more funds towards mental health and initiatives that are grounded in evidence and shown to be effective, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I know I'm biased. We work in the space, but I believe it's probably one of the biggest issues facing Australia. You want to look at all the flow-on effects from poor mental health, productivity, like we know that the financial burden that it can have if it's not addressed.
Well, and working in a mental health charity.
Not even to talk about the emotional burden.
Yeah. But just working in a mental health charity, we understand how challenging it is to get funding.
People need help, and it's our duty to help them. So
yeah. A question for you. So we've spoken a lot about people not speaking up, but it was very heartening, mate. You showed me a video before of an event that you attended on the weekend. Tell us about that.
Yeah, mate, it's humbling. Probably one of the best events, and I know I say that a lot. I do, because there's recency bias. But honestly, I was pretty emotional when I was driving home after this event. So on the weekend, I had the pleasure of attending the Alpha Events Co. Fight Night, Podcast Royale. So, podcasters from all around Australia, hopefully not us in the future, come together and fight each other. It was put on by the Alpha Events Co., which is the Two Flogs podcast and the Alpha Blokes. So there was about, 3,000 people in the crowd. I had the opportunity to introduce the 7-man blindfold fight. What a spectacle. It was hilarious.
Seven-man.
7 people were blindfolded. Well, 6 were blindfolded. 1 was actually blind, and they fought each other. And they're all podcasters. It was fantastic. But before that fight, I was given the opportunity to tell everyone in attendance about LIVIN and who we are, what we do. And after that night, well, during that night, I suppose, at the convention centre here on the Gold Coast, I had people come up to me, and then also at the after party at the casino. So I had probably 40 people at least come up to me. And some of them just thanked me for the work that we do, which was great. But a lot of them, and this is where I got emotional, thanked me for the work that LIVIN's done and for saving their lives. Like this one, a lot of them are coming out of the toilet with, wipe and piss, and I'm having to shake their hands, which who cares? I don't care. But one young fella, and I actually did get emotional at this. He said, "Mate, you saved my life, and you saved my 6 best friends' life." And I know that's not them putting their hand up asking for support, but at some stage they probably have. And these are the last, these are manly men.
Yeah.
These guys are tough. These are the people that you wouldn't expect to be asking for help. But
yeah.
I am so grateful for them coming and sharing that with me. I'm so grateful that they have that, what we've done has helped them, but I'm so grateful that they're still here today.
Yeah, yeah.
And why I'm grateful that they shared it with me is, it gets hard doing what we're doing. You get caught up in doing the work. You've got your head down, your bum up. There's bills to pay, there's money to bring in, but the impact is what matters most. And sometimes you don't actually get that feedback of impact. And when I heard them give me that feedback, or when I received that feedback, that's all I need to hear. And it's just kicked me up the arse and inspired me. And I was driving home quite emotional. We're doing a pretty good thing. I lost my best mate though.
Yeah.
I don't get to share it with him.
Yeah.
But in a positive, he's saving lives still.
Yeah.
And he's still doing, his cheeky attitude, or his cheeky character and his cheeky spirit is still living on through these people.
Yeah, and helping people.
They are our people.
The legacy.
They are his people. So I don't know. Thank you to those guys for coming up to me. It was
fantastic. Love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, it was great. They just came up to me without a worry either. They weren't scared to share that. So Yeah, I know we can talk negatively about people not asking for help, but these guys they were great.
Yeah, in the right environment,
Yeah,
potentially people are more willing to speak up.
yeah, yeah.
Just get a whole lot of men in a boxing ring and away they go.
Yeah, opens them right up.
Opens them right up.
But yeah, I just so grateful for that opportunity and that platform. Yeah,
That's bloody
why
fantastic,
we do.
mate. Yeah, bloody fantastic.
Yeah. Mate, I don't. Is there anything else you want to talk about today?
Nah, had a great chat with you, mate.
I think that was.
What's the time? Yeah, I'll probably talk to you in a couple of hours, mate, when you're passing through Maccas drive-through. I look forward to it.
Didn't you just order a bucket from KFC? Mate, yeah, as I said at the start, we're going to do this a lot. We're just going to chat. If anyone at home wants to throw some questions or some suggestions, or if there are any guests you want us to get on to interview, we're all ears. And we want this to be valuable for the people listening, but we want to show you who we are. We want to have a bit of fun and have a few laughs along the way as well.
Yeah.
So
keep it funny, eh?
thank you.
Thanks, you.
Mate.